Today we're going to do a tutorial on how to crochet daisy squares. These are my favorite granny squares. They're so cheerful and I love crocheting daisy squares. In the past I showed you how I made the daisy squares and then made them into this blanket. However, since crocheting this particular blanket, I've made about another 200 daisy squares and I've learned some hacks how to make daisy squares faster and neater, and I'd like to share those with you today. My name is Lindy and thank you for watching my channel. Let's get started on our tutorial on crocheting daisy squares. The position you sit while you are crocheting is really important. It helps you to work more comfortably and it looks after your back and your arms. I find having armrests the most comfortable for crocheting. If your arms are floating, you start getting a little bit of tension in the arms and in the neck, which goes down the back. So just be aware of your posture. The other thing that's really important while you're crocheting is how your yarn is positioned. I have this little basket and I have my 3 balls of yarn. Each ball has 2 areas of starting, one on the outside and one which starts in the middle, so you have a beginning and an end. If you pull it out the center of the ball, you find that tends to actually work more easily, and so I then have all of the bits hanging out of the yarn like this, and I find then when I'm working it's really easy and convenient. And then the other thing is the atmosphere. You may want to sit near a window, you may even want to sit outside, but the atmosphere is important. You want to be relaxed, you want to feel creative. I find listening to a nice podcast or a YouTube channel that you don't have to concentrate too much on. I also need a board in which to stretch my completed daisy squares. Here is the board, and you can see we have 12 granny squares here. And then if you're like me, you probably want to know the exact process of making daisy squares. So here's your center, the petals, and here's the first round and your second round. And at the very end, you sew it all together. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I make the daisy squares faster and neater. This is going to take me a while to complete. I'm making approximately 200 daisy squares, and once they're completed, I'm going to do another tutorial on how I put them together to make the blanket. If you enjoy crocheting granny squares as much as I do, and in this case, the daisy granny square, you're going to get to the end and you're going to have all these loose threads, 2 for every color change. In my case, 6 threads. And this is the dreaded part of crocheting, because to have to sew these all back takes time, and it sometimes leaves little bumps and they tend to work their way out. So here's a hack which will leave you at the end of your daisy square with only 1 thread. This thread has a purpose in sewing your garment, or in my case blanket, together. Let me show you how I do that, how it saves you time and makes it all so much more enjoyable. To begin the daisy square, we start with the center of the daisy. This center has 12 double crochets. You can use any multiples of 4. The reason we need 4 is to eventually go into a square. So you can use 4, 8, 12, 16 double crochets. So here we have 12 double crochets and 12 petals. The way we start that is using our pink yarn, which is the center, and we are using a number 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. The yarn I'm going to be using, it's Bernat, it's baby soft cotton, and it's called Softee, 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. They recommend a 4 millimeter crochet, but I'm actually going to go down a bit. I'm going to use a 3.5 millimeter hook. I always like to use a slightly finer crochet hook. So we start with a slip knot. Hold it, take your needle, go round, hold the 2 threads together that are crossed, go round again, pull through and tighten. Now the other thing about working faster and working your threads back, you don't need a very long thread. So we make a slip knot and then we make 4 chain stitches. We go back into the first chain stitch and we make a slip stitch. So we pull it through and pull it through again. Slip stitch. And here we have the center of our center. You can see there's a little hole in the middle, and that is where we're going to put our 12 double crochets into. But you can't start with a double crochet. We have to start the first center with 2 chain stitches. 1, 2. And now we're going to make 11 more double crochets. So we do double crochet into the center of the circle. When you're making them, try not to let them overlap. Keep pulling them to make space for the next one, because we want them to be as flat as possible. So we count here from the first 2 chain stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Eight, 9, 10, make a little more space, 11 and 12. It is very important that you have the correct number of stitches, because if you have too few or too many, you're not going to end up with a nicely balanced petal. So we count again from the 2 chain stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We then go back into the top to the center, just here where the 2 chain stitches are. We go round and we slip it off. And there you have your first center. Trim this down and pull it into a knot. So now we have our 2 threads, one from the center and one from the circle. And we're going to work these 2 back in while we do the petal. So what I do is I turn it about 45 degrees. So this is on the side here. The next step is the petals, and you can see we have 12 petals in a circle and we have 1 thread left behind. I'm going to show you how I work back those stitches. So taking the color for the petal, we go in anywhere here because all the petals are the same except for the first one, which has a slight variation. So we're holding this thread. I don't like to knot it because then it just has an extra bump. So I'm just holding it. I take the yarn over and I go through, holding it quite tightly close to the circle, and we're now going to make 2 chain stitches. 1, 2, and that is the start of the first petal. So the first petal is slightly different, and then we do, as you would start, a treble crochet, which is yarn over twice. We go back into the same hole around, and then we go yarn over, slip 2, yarn over, slip 2, and those are the first 2 parts of the 3-part petal. So then we go yarn over twice, back into the same hole, and try to keep those threads flat, holding this so it doesn't loosen. Yarn over, slip 2, yarn over, and slip 2. Sometimes I tend to wiggle to get through because these are many strands. It's a multi-strand yarn, and if you just pull through incorrectly, you can take a piece of the thread. So there we've got our 3 loops. We're going to close them off now to make the point of the petal, and then we're going to do 2 chain stitches. So now what we want to do is, we've got this piece of the white yarn, we're going to trail it along here, and we're going to, as we crochet the petals, we're going to weave this in. So this is how I do it. Hold it here. So we do yarn over twice, go into the next stitch with this on top, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, slip off 2, yarn over, slip off 2, yarn over twice, back into here, making sure you've got this around here. It all looks a bit clumsy at the moment, but the more you do it, the more it actually becomes quite easy. Yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to go yarn over, slip 2, make sure you get the whole thread off, yarn over, slip 2, and then yarn over twice again, back into the same hole for the 3rd time, and you slip off 2, yarn over, slip off 2, and there we have the 4 stitches. We're going to go yarn over, slip off all 4 to make the point of the petal, and 2 chain stitches. So we're keeping that over there, and we're now going to do the 3rd petal. Yarn over twice, go through, and 2 chain stitches. So I'm going to keep going like this. You're welcome to watch, or you can jump ahead in the description. I'm going to show you something else I do, which also makes it a little bit easier. So when you are slipping off the stitches, as I'm going to do now, I'm going to go yarn over. If you pull away from each other, so this thumb is pulling towards me and this crochet hook is pulling away, it gives me a little more space to get through. Round, pull those 2 stitches through, and now we go again, back in. Try to keep those stitches flat if you can. Pull through, and pull them all off. 2 chain stitches. There we go. Now we've come to the area where you've got the little slip knot from the center. We've got to go over that. So if you look very carefully, you'll see there's a stitch here and a stitch here, but we need to go into this stitch first. And when we go into that stitch, we've got all 3. We can keep one of these aside. So we're now going to go into this next stitch. And I'm going to go and I'm going to take those 2 colors, the pink and the white, as I mentioned, it cuts down a step of sewing the back, which is very enjoyable, not having to do that, and it also makes it a little bit neater. So let's just have a look at that now. And the next stitch is going to be here, and we're going to weave these 2 in. So if you look at the back, this is the center. We can actually pull it wherever we like. Try to keep these stitches flat. Now if we just take stock of what's happening, This pink we're going to still continue with. This pink we're going to pull across and include, and then we're going to just trim off this white piece. So we've got the two pinks now we're going to sew in. Go in here, catch the pinks so that they are sitting on the top of the circle here, and we're weaving them in. So we've woven all those stitches in here, you can't see them. And the 12th and last petal. Now, just going to get that one across a bit. Two chain stitches. We now go into that top here. Just here you can see the chain stitches. We go in here, around, and slip stitch. Trim this and pull it through. Now those have been sewn in, so we can actually just trim these off here. There we have our petals. The last step and the third color is going to be to make this circle into a square. The way the square works is the first round has 2 sets of triple double crochet on each side, and on each corner you have 3 double crochets with 3 chain stitches to make the corner. The second round has 3 triple double crochets on each side, and the corners are the same. So we're going to start the square. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to just leave this off center. But what I do with this one is to make it a little easier to work back. I twist these into the little spaces. About 4 times. I started a little bit away from where the thread started. I hold it as I did with the petal, starting the petal, and I do 2 chain stitches and 2 double crochet. And then what I do is I just give this a little pull so that loop straightens. I'm starting on the one corner. So this is where I start. These are there. So I'm now going to do these two and the corner. So in between the triple double crochet, I do one chain stitch. And I also take this one and I weave this one through. And just now we'll be able to trim that down. When you do that, make sure you don't pull it. You don't want to tighten the circle, you just want to loop it, and we're going to then cover it and strengthen it with the double crochets. So after the 3 double crochets, I do a chain. Now I do 3 more here. Chain. So now I've got to the first half of the second corner. So I started here, I then did 2 sets of double crochets, and now I'm at this corner. So when I get to the corner now, I need to do 3 chain stitches and the second side of the corner. And here we have the first corner. I'm going to continue 2 more sets of triple double crochet, weave this through, and the next corners, and you can either jump ahead or I'm going to speed it up so you can watch. I'm going to just give this a little tug, make sure I don't pull up the petal, and I'm going to trim this off. So you can see I've got no more threads except when I get to the very end, and when I've finished this square I don't have to sew back a whole lot of threads. We are now going to complete the second part of the fourth corner. So when you come to the end of the last corner of the first round, we go again into those between the 2 chain and the first double crochet. We go round and then we slip stitch. Then we go to the next stitch, round and slip stitch, and then we go to the first opening, round and slip stitch. And now we are ready to start the second round. And the way we start the second round is we do 2 chain stitches into that space, and we're going to do 2 more double crochets, and a chain, and we're going to just continue as we did for the first round, and I'll meet you back here. So here we are, about to complete the final corner of the second round and this daisy square. So what I do now at the end, just to recap, is 1 chain stitch, I go into that corner and we do 3 double crochets, three chain stitches for the corner, and 3 more double crochets. Just flatten them out a bit. And then 1 chain stitch, and we're going to go again between the last 2 double crochet and chain stitches, round and slip off. Now once we've finished the square, I then take about 4 pieces so long, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I trim that off. And I then thread that through this loop, tighten it, and this I'm going to use when I sew my blanket together. The way it works is when I sew these daisy squares together, so you'll have 2 next to each other like that, I always work on the right side and I go towards the corner, and then I go for as long as I can with this thread, and then somewhere further down I'm going to use another thread from another daisy square, but that will be in my other video of how I put my blanket together. My name's Lindy and thank you for watching my channel. If you enjoyed this video on how to crochet daisy squares, please be sure to hit the subscribe button and you'll be notified when my next videos are available. Take care and bye.